Okay, welcome. This is a video on the spectrum plots in DS. So spectrum plots shown here as we have the magnitude, the envelope, and then magnitude and envelope plot. That's what I'll be covering in this video, are those three. And the reason I'm doing all three at once is because they're really very similar plots in both the way they look, what they're showing, and their behavior. So first, I'm going to go ahead and I'll just put each of them on a separate plot cell. So in order to make a spectrum plot, you need to pick a channel. So in this case, I have channel 1 selected, and I will pick, first I'll make a magnitude plot, then I'm going to make an envelope plot, and then I'm going to do magnitude and envelope plot. So you can see those three are now shown. And so these are showing spectrum or FFT data on the plot, and on the x-axis we have hertz, and then the y-axis we have the amplitudes. So the difference between them are the magnitude plot is the instantaneous magnitude. It's updated every block. The envelope plot shown here is showing the instantaneous data, but it's accumulating a history of it over time, so that you end up with what maybe we call a peak hold of the spectrum data. So you can see the signal's has moved around a little bit here. And then if you do the magnitude and envelope plot, you get both. You get the instantaneous data and then a slightly grayed out version of the green color shows the envelope data. And so I'll bring up my simulator, drag it off the screen a little bit. You can see if I change the frequency, you can see how the different plots of this type behave. So a couple other things to point out is on the spectrum plots, there's a default scaling that's defined in the setup panel. So these are units or volts, and then it's peak to peak. So you can, if you right click, you can change the peaks, you can change the scaling from peak to peak to peak. So now we're showing half the amplitude, which makes sense. We can also go to RMS or average. So now we're in RMS. This is just scaling at the plot level, the amplitudes. There's also the ability to integrate a channel. This is not, I'm not covering that in this video, but that is, you can integrate at the plot level. It uses a table that you have to load in to the software. And then once you do that, it allows you to automatically convert your units from your unintegrated to your integrated. Okay, so now if we go into the setup panel, so I'm going to right click, go to setup panel, and I want to point out this, all the plots have this, there's a max cursor button, and let's apply that to all. Let me just applying it to all the plots. So now what we have is there's a little arrow that points to the maximum, so the highest amplitude FFT data. So in this plot up here, it's tracking on this 880 hertz and showing the Y amplitude. And so you can see that amplitudes are updating as the data moves. On the envelope plot, it's picking the highest point here and showing it, and then on the mag and envelope, it uses the highest point of these, and that's typically going to be the envelope point. Right now that is fixed, so it will always track the highest. So in this case, it's going to be pretty much going to stay on the envelope rather than the instantaneous. So that's pretty much it for the magnitude and envelope plots. You can also pick points off of here, and this is shown in another video as well. You can pick a point down here, and now sticks the cursor is updated live to the closest point on that trace. So we can do that on these different, move it around to the different points. Okay, that's all for the magnitude and envelope plots.